Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I am here today with somebody that is a creative. You know, we love creatives over here because it's about creativity that keeps everything going. It's culture,
Yep.
creativity, and community. Those three C's make up what we do at Detroit is Different.
Yeah.
So this is a testament to whomever she slid in the DMs and not
Hey.
like what you're thinking. She slid in saying like, yo, I got a project. It's
Yeah.
artistry. It should fit what Detroit is different about because we're talking about community, culture, and creativity. Why aren't we connected? And you're going to get connected right now, just like myself, to Shelby Love
Hey.
of Detroit Does It Better. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
All is well. All is well. Great is definitely an adjective that is not often used, but it's great when you hear it used. See?
For sure.
There you go. So with this whole project, Detroit Does It Better. What is Detroit Does It Better?
So Detroit Does It Better is essentially an art initiative. But we have been hosting art exhibitions for the past 3 years, once a year, normally September, August type time, and essentially just coming together as a group of minority, up and coming artists and creating concepts and digital art technically. So we were using art initially that was already created,
Okay.
and kind of just putting our spin on it. I'm a makeup artist, and so I was using my skills as far as like makeup artistry and body paint and putting it on models. So pulling these up and coming models who want more of a platform, right? Want to do more work, and then photographers and videographers using them to capture what we made in front of these artworks in downtown. So yeah.
Okay, so it's makeup for you and body painting, and it includes photography.
Yep.
And it includes videography as well.
Yep.
And you're connecting this to, I guess, public art that already exists that is signature for Detroit.
For sure, yeah. So bringing that attention of basically on all sides or on multiple sides of all the different artistry and skills that's here in Detroit. So like putting a light on the art that's already here.
Yeah.
That we're like, yeah, this is Detroit. This is our vibe. But maybe people everywhere else don't really know
What this represents and what this means.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So I like it. So now we got to get into like, this has been going on for 3 years. So congratulations for
Thank
doing
you.
it once, twice, third time around.
Yep.
When is the third time around happening?
So it's actually happening September 21st.
Okay.
From 7 to 10 p.m. at the Art Block, which is actually a community space from the Henry Ford Health System. So keep that in mind, any other artists who need a space to put something together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's not that far. We know that's in zone 8 as Northwestern people such as myself and Yusef Shakur and all of that. We know where that is. It's not that far. It's a community space for all of you, I guess, more connected to the neighborhood. I would say around the corner from where Marble Bar is for a lot of other people. So the Art Block, who are some of the artists that'll be connecting with this?
Yeah, so I hope I don't butcher their names. I'm just gonna say their real names, not because one of my
their artist names.
Yeah,
Okay.
because one of my photographers, he's also a DP. His real name is Jure. I think he goes by like he has some like weird acronym thing. I'm sorry, it's not weird. It's cool. I just don't know how to pronounce it.
just don't
I don't
know
want to butcher it. So Jure, he's a really talented DP and videographer. And then Amani. I love her. That's my best friend since middle school, actually. We got reconnected and started doing stuff. So her company is Ivani Productions. So the two of them are like my co-directors / DPs that like help. Literally, when I tell them an idea, they're the ones that are helping me put it together.
Okay.
Make it work.
Okay, and it's already art in the Art Block. What about you as far as your models? How do you go about selecting your models? What does that go? What's happening this year with it?
Yeah, so this year we changed it a little bit. So before we were outside a lot. And if y'all haven't noticed, the weather has been weathering, this summer. So we were like, okay, maybe we need to switch over a little bit and maybe even make it a little bit more original as far as me as the artist, like reinterpreting pieces as opposed to like literally because I was doing makeup that matched the murals behind the women before, the models before. So this time it was like, okay, let me take the art that I see and kind of reconfigure it and then paint it on people, do the makeup on people. So it's more original than before, but it's still, I purposely picked pieces that were either well known or were specific to like downtown Detroit, like they're in downtown Detroit, or they're part of a special staple in a Detroit museum or something. Like one of our pieces, two of our pieces, one's in the DIA, and the other one is actually a mural that's on the floor of the Charles H. Wright Museum.
Interesting. So it's a little bit like Where's Waldo? People will be like, I know where that is.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And the goal is to have, like, even when you come to the show, to have the original works next to it so you can see the inspiration, and also so you can go support
that
those
makes
original
sense.
Artists. Yeah.
All right. So now we get into the classic Detroit is different. You and your people, your background. How many generations deep are you Detroit? You first generation, second generation, third? How deep are you in the D?
I think I'm second generation. My grandmother was from Georgia. My other grandmother's from Baltimore.
Whereabouts? Okay, we gonna talk about both, but Georgia, whereabouts?
Oh Lord. You asking me history questions?
Oh yeah, this Detroit is different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. I know that my great grandmother was a farmer, had her own land and stuff. So she sent my grandmother up here to get a job when she was like 19. She was like, okay, I'm gonna go make a name for myself or whatever in Detroit, which is super cool. And of course, segregation, stuff like that. So she actually ended up being a house worker for a Jewish family up here. But they really did treat her like family and taught her how to cook, like taught her how to dance, like kind of elevated her culturally.
That sounds so interesting that like a Jewish family is teaching a black woman how to dance.
Exactly.
That sounds like the reverse. All the movies Save the Last Dance.
Literally, literally like that, or like The Help or whatever, like reversed. Yeah. Kind of. And The Help is hilarious, but that chocolate pie. But yeah, so when she got up here, like most of the food and stuff that I knew growing up, like it came from the cookbook of a Jewish woman.
Wow. So like a lot of like deli meats and that's what I think when I think delicatessens when I think Jewish food for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you think New York and people like that.
And then it was a Jewish bakery when I was a truck driver in my truck driving days that had the best Asiago bagel. It's far, far away. It may be like, if this is the Mitten of Michigan, it may be like around here. And Detroit's being like here. So it's miles away, but an amazing bagel. It's not worth driving.
Worth driving, but like
past Saginaw. But if you're near Saginaw,
make a stop.
Yeah, definitely.
I love Asiago bagels, especially Costco, especially ones at Costco, y'all.
Okay,
so y'all know.
So that's that side, and then BMO for the other side. Like Georgia is traditional, right? From East Coast to get over this way, What was really the DMV? I guess like a lot of my New York people would be like, that's not the East Coast, but the DMV area. Be more to Detroit. That's a very unique connection. What was that?
For sure. She never really explained why she came over here. I kind of am assuming that everyone was kind of on the same deal. Like the automotive industry was kind of booming and people were like, Detroit was kind of a good place to like go and start your life essentially. So I don't even know what she was. What
the hook was to
get over. I don't know what the hook was. They didn't go into details. My other grandma, she's a storyteller. She was a storyteller, so she loved telling me everything. But yeah, she got down here. Her last name was Jiggets. So if anybody knows Jiggets in the Baltimore area, maybe you can help me out.
That's a very unique. It's not like Davis or Jackson.
Very
Jigget. I gotta be like something very specific.
So I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I probably should. Low-key, have always wanted to do the ancestry. I mean, of course, being of color, it's not a lot of documentation, but like whatever we can salvage and put things together, I'm really intrigued.
And I mean, there are more resources. You have Ancestry.com. You also have AfricanAmericanAncestry.com or AfricanAncestry.com. It's options, It's definitely options. And then also you may be able to encourage somebody else in your family to do it. And then basically it's like, yep, I got it because my brother did it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to pay for it. You pay for it.
There you go. Yeah. It's like, get them to do it.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Right.
So when we get to that, your neighborhoods, your family, what neighborhoods did they grow up in Detroit?
So my mom grew up on Dexter and Davison.
Oh, that's not that far. Stone's throw. Okay.
Yeah, and my dad grew up on Outer Drive. So we're West Siders.
Okay, West Siders. So West Outer Drive, and like what?
West Outer Drive in I think Warwick.
Okay.
So kind of
nice. Like the Mumford neighborhood. Yeah. That's what I think of when I think of around that area. Yeah. But for people that aren't from Detroit that watch this, Outer Drive is a very we've talked about this before. It used to be the outer drive of the city, and that's why it's so weird. And it goes east, it goes west,
it does,
it goes north and south. And I'm not saying like that way down the line. Like it can go from east to west to north to south, like maybe like 4 blocks up.
Literally.
So like when people say, "Hey, keep driving down outer drive," and then you find yourself on a whole nother street.
You got to explain. You got to be thorough with those directions, or just use the deep. Hey, look. We have GPS now.
But imagine back in the day, pre-GPS.
Literally, I told my mom that I was like, "Y'all just got lost."
Yes, we will follow the North Star. I'm just messing. but
that sounds dangerous.
So that's like kind of the neighborhood in those connections. So classic Detroit neighborhoods, West Side neighborhoods.
For sure.
So I'm guessing you grew up west then.
Grew up west. We grew up on Schoolcraft and Greenview.
So you all moved to a whole nother part of the west side. So y'all just
still
bouncing around.
Like right there. But it was another little area for sure that was like, I feel like it was like almost like the best of both worlds. Like it was right across the street. It's kind of like, but like if we stayed over here, like it's kind of okay. Like in essence, the hood was right next door.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So with it, your parents, what did they do coming up? Yeah. Were they artists as well? Where did your artistry come from?
Man, what I like to joke around and say is that my parents were like the nerdy black sheep of their families, and then came together and made more nerdy nerdy black kids. But essentially, my mom, she's a singer by trade, and that was what she was doing most of my childhood. So
what did she sing, and who did she sing with?
So she sang there. First of all, back in the day, it just felt like, from their stories, it just felt like it was a lot of open networking as far as doing stuff. My parents actually met doing modeling and stuff for the auto shows.
Interesting.
So, so there were just a lot of opportunities over here. So my mom sang at Auntie Ambo's, like different restaurants around the city. People would hire her, to come out in the burbs at the pretty parties and stuff like that to sing. It's called B&B Music is what they performed under, her and my play uncle. And they've been singing for like years. Wow.
Okay. So like what type of songs did she sing? When I think of Auntie Amos, was it like what style of music and what songs was she singing?
Like R&B for sure, a lot of R&B, and then some like I would even say, I don't know what to call it, maybe like contemporary jazz, a couple, and there's some people, some people like country, so there's a few sprinkled in there. So there was like,
see, black people was doing country before Beyonce. Ain't that something?
For real, like
ain't that something?
Now maybe we weren't the headliners of country, but we knew how to sing it. We could sing some Shania Twain now.
This ain't Texas, and it ain't Hodel. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just messing.
You
Charlie
funny.
Pride and all that. So with it, having a performer as your mom, and you always going to ask this. So like, was she always singing to you as a child?
Oh yes, of course. And my dad, he loved singing, and he did write and produce a couple things. But money wise, you're like, okay, you got 4 kids, you gotta. That's kind of wasn't the most frugal way to go, whatever you want to say. So he did a lot of the stuff that he was doing was kind of just hobby. So he was the drawer. He was the one who would draw and knew how to do production and stuff like that. But they both sang in church. So we were singing all over the house.
And I was going to say, does that mean that you have a good voice too? Or was it one of those things?
Ask me to sing, y'all.
No, I'm not going to ask you to sing, but like, did you, having a singer, like, was it one of those things where it was pressure? Like, for you to sing, like the 5 Heartbeat scene where Duck is singing with his sister,
that movie.
Which is an amazing scene. Actually,
it's so cute.
He put that in there because she could sing so good, but
it was so First of all, that little girl opened her mouth, and she's probably older than me, but like in the movie, that little girl opened her mouth. You like what?
And I guess as growing up with singers, you all would be watching the 5 Heartbeats. all the time.
We watched. When I tell you, so when Dreamgirls came out, when I say on repeat in the car, and we're like acting the whole thing out, and like Effie Curtis was supposed to love me, like we're doing the whole thing. So it was that. It was Disney. It was my dad and my mom were low key just really big, like just art in general. So like movies. So we're like watching School Days. We're like singing through those songs, Good and Bad Hair. Like it was all over the place. So we were like getting that. Bill Cosby, The Cosby Show, School Days.
So just world, black artistry and culture.
Black artistry and culture was like all over the house.
Interesting. For sure. Okay, and in this, you're watching your father in that space, and I'm guessing you also mentioned brothers and sisters too.
Yeah.
You oldest or youngest?
I'm the oldest of 4.
Okay, so you big sister.
Yeah.
Okay, so you watched them even grow into the group. So you said who's gonna sing what?
Look, it's so weird because if you were to ask my sister, she would say she's the older sister in her head. But like literally, it's like we loved the same things. So we would be singing, we'd be singing the songs together. Sometimes fighting over who gets to sing what.
Okay.
Acting out things together. The movies, doing voices of characters. Like all 4 of us. Like if you get us in one room, it's like we all sync up, and then next thing you know, we're talking for hours about anything artist-wise, music, movies, film, TV, comic books, like
and pouring into creativity.
Yeah, for sure.
So now I got to go school journey.
Okay.
What was your school journey?
Yeah, I'm a DPS kid.
Okay,
literally my whole life. I went to Bates Academy.
Oh, okay. You're a Bates kid. There we go. Okay.
Bates kid. So for the gifted and talented.
Did you do any art there or okay?
Oh yeah, I've been drawing since I was 2. My parents say I've been making noises that sounded like singing since I was 2. So I've been doing all that stuff. And of course, it was in my face all the time. So why wouldn't I? In Bates, they had art classes. One of the art teachers, shout out to Miss McDaniel, she like kind of took me and my siblings under her wing because my parents were just like, they love to draw. So like after school, or if we had like finished all of our work in our class, we could go over to her classroom and just be sketching and drawing. She had an after school program, and a lot of me and my friends would be just trying to mimic drawing like cartoon characters like Sonic the Hedgehog and different, like she would give us art books that I would try to mimic and draw those things like freehand and stuff like that. Oh yeah, all the time, all the way up until I left in 8th grade.
Okay. All right. So from 8th grade, where do you go after that?
Yeah. So 8th grade, and I went to, and actually while I was there, I was playing in the orchestra too. So it was orchestra.
What did you play?
Art. I played the cello and the violin.
Ah, okay. String instruments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then I graduated.
Classical instruments too.
Classical. Yeah. And I loved, I kind of taught myself how to play the cello, but I loved the way that you could like put orchestra music into like the backgrounds of other songs. So I grew up off of Michael Jackson, Prince, stuff like that. So that was like, oh, okay, yeah.
So when so I remember Cecilia with Urban Strings and the group that in the orchestra that she put together of primarily young women that were doing that work. And then I remember like that kick of like hip hop and violin at one point in time.
Oh yeah. That was really
was
cool.
It your parents that moved you towards the violin and cello, or was it more so you gravitating towards that?
Well, I wanted to sing, but it was kind of like, I think the after school programs I was doing just kept clashing with each other. So orchestra was something that I could do, but my parents were pushing for the violin for sure. I don't think I was interested in it necessarily.
Or like drums or piano or guitar or bass.
I love the drums. Now, I do love the drums. I haven't played in a long time, so I don't know. I'll probably really rusty, like basic drumming. But the cello, I think I saw that movie, August Rush. Is that the movie? I don't know. It's a little white kid with a cello, and I just loved the song in it. And so one day I was like, let me see if I can duplicate what I'm hearing on this instrument. And that's when I started trying to play the cello, because I've been playing the violin that whole time. And then like last year, I think my 8th grade year, I was like, let me try and learn how to play the cello.
Okay.
So
All right. So now we go.
Now we can,
From middle school on to high school.
Yeah. So in high school, it was like.
What high school?
I went to Renaissance.
Ah, Rennie.
Yeah.
Okay. West Side again.
See, I'm telling you, when I say West Side through and through, I just recently moved to the East Side. So I'm like, where am I? Hilarious. Like, what is going on?
Hilarious.
But
my closest friends live on the East Side. I'm just.
No, I'm about to say, I actually have a best friend who lives on the East Side. She's like, y'all East Siders now. And I'm like, okay, relax. I'm just over here for temporary. Like,
hilarious.
But yeah, I reached in high school. So I did theater. We didn't even have a theater program until my junior year.
Okay.
Of high school, so I was in it from junior year to senior year.
What did what play did you all do?
We did, and that was the interesting thing about it. So I feel like, and this is worth mentioning, like the DPS as far as art wise was kind of like hit or miss. And I would even say, and then hopefully it's better now. I don't know. It's been a long time. But it was not really perfectly structured. It was kind of like, they were just like, here, just like make sure the kids don't kill each other and figure out something to teach them. So we really were it was almost like sketch comedy. Like a lot of improv, a lot of taking skits and stuff from TV. And even like at one point, I remember one time we had an assignment where it was like essentially performing a music video. So you picked a song and you got to act out or decide what the story was for the song that you were playing and got to act it out for a grade. So it was a lot of improv. It wasn't really like any, like, as opposed to cast, because we did have a field trip to cast at one point, and I could hear the cast people already trying to be like, it's second to none. But whatever. But they had like a more set up, structured type of thing. I think we went on a field trip to go see them do, I think it was hairspray. And it was awesome. But I was like, okay, why can't we do this? Like, where was the money, right? Where was the funding to do that?
And also, I forget, man, it's messing with me now. I think it's McCormick, but the theater instructor at Cass and the relationship with so many great actors, actresses, vocalists over time, and also dancers, and opportunity that relates to the point where, like, I mean, Tony Awards and so many people pour in,
for sure,
and just that connection, is deep between Cass and theater, and then Renaissance and theater. It was developing and building while you were there,
brand new. Like I said, we hadn't even had a program. I don't know if we hadn't had one at all. I think it was just but it was a long time. So during that time, where did you put a lot of your artistry in? Because it was like, okay, you're not necessarily being challenged from academic level. Where were you putting your artistry in during high school? Yeah, so it was a lot of just a lot of doing stuff on my own. As far as like singing, I had a like little singing group. Please do not ask me what the name is, because I don't know. But we had, like, me and my sister had an on and off singing group with one of our friends from church. I think we called it 3D, like Three Girls from Detroit. Okay. So that was a group, and then there was another one with our neighbor. But we were always like, and we would sing at church. So like the children's choir and stuff like that. So it was a lot more of the music. So you lean more into the vocals. Yeah. And how did your mom take to you saying, okay, they're doing a little bit more vocaling? Yeah. What was the connection there? She was fired up about it, but I think, like most people, if you don't have the money to get classical training, it's just kind of like, okay, we're going to try and, do some warm-ups here and there and have you sing at church. And then it's kind of like, okay, whatever happens. But because primarily I feel like the thought process is, okay, I need you to get through school, though. Like, period. Like, bottom line is we need these grades, your grades and da-da-da-da. So if we didn't have a structured thing, it was like, okay, well, we'll work on that on the side. But, like, and she loved it. She did. I think my mom was excited that all of her kids loved to sing, but it was like especially with the recession and like 2008 and all that stuff. My dad was one of the people who got laid off. A lot of stuff happened. So it was like, okay, there wasn't a lot of time for something that wasn't structured outside of school. So from there, after high school, where you at in Journey? So after high school, I wanted to go to school for music. But and at the time they wanted you, and all the applications for the music schools at U of M, Berkeley, Michigan State wanted you to have some kind of classical training with a professional teacher. And I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go for theater because if I get accepted into the theater program, then I can start doing musical theater. And then it'll kind of just...
It'll work.
Yeah, it'll work. So I went to Michigan State, go green, go white, for theater. And man, it's so... Going to a PWI in itself is hard. But I think even as an artist, it's like there was some elements of favoritism and racism that you had to deal with. Like,
yeah, and Michigan State comes up often in these Detroit is different as some of the other Michigan universities. Okay. And it's also a different type of campus too, because definitely PWI all day, but the culture of keeping it real and faking the funk and Black campus and the Black alumni group, it is. It's its own discussion as some of the work with creative differences comes to like, okay, who's recruiting the most Black students from DPS, like Black students from DPS. I think it kind of goes like, for so long when I was there, like Eastern Michigan has a connection to getting students.
There was.
From DPS.
Oh yeah. I think
Michigan State has that connection.
Yeah.
U of M has a connection with a certain type of student.
For sure.
A lot of the other schools are like, okay, why aren't some of the kids coming here?
Yeah.
But Michigan State has had that connection for so many students.
Yeah.
And you say that your experience there, definitely in school, but on campus, what was the culture like for you?
Yeah. So I was in school from 2014 to 2017. And so right in the midst of the election with Trump and Clinton. So that was one of the scariest things to be on
Break
campus.
It down.
Yeah, so I remember, first of all, everybody remembers how very similar to now, but like I think worse in a way, that the tension was just really high as far as the divisiveness was starting to come to the top, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, but the thought process was just kind of like, for lack of a better word, the good guys are going to win, right? The good guys are going to win. So we don't even got to worry about it. But that night when they announced that Trump won, it was like you could hear a pin drop. Like half of the campus was cheering and the other half was dead silent and didn't know. Like it was like we were trying to process our feelings. Like, okay, so like, what does this mean? Like, what's class going to be like tomorrow?
And this is interesting because so many people watching this now think to themselves, okay, college is, people just partying and focusing on that.
And there
but
was
even
that.
within in the midst of the partying and people focusing on that, you still are like have the seeds to political ideologies forming
for sure
at that age.
Yeah.
Because it's a dissonance that you think, okay, my kid's at college. Because I'm sure it's probably some people watching right now. My kid or my sister, my brother, they're away at college.
Yeah.
And it's cool. They're thinking that something political couldn't go on. Because I even think that, like, okay, I'm thinking that night, like most of America, I don't think I was a shock. But remember, I was a truck driver. So,
I feel like you were like more in the adult situation.
So I was like, yeah, I mean, just kind of like the time now. It's like, well,
He's like, well,
so like, but with that, I would not think that college students would be so impassioned to be like almost like cheering on one side,
literally,
on the other side. So I can only even imagine on campus there was probably like some energy.
Oh, some energy. And you could feel it. I think the weird part, like you were saying, it was like, we're just kids. So we're partying or being dumb and we're reckless because our parents aren't there. So we're just, just turn up all the time. But it was like, when it came down to this election, it was like, it's like somebody flipped a switch. And so I remember coming to class and like people were crying. People were upset.
Wow.
And coming to class the next day, there was just like, it was just so much uncomfortability.
And the people that supported Donald Trump, I'm guessing they were probably in a joyous mood.
Right. So you could tell. And you could tell. So there's some people who were walking around campus like, la, 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 like everything's fine. And then everybody else
walking around with the red hat.
You could see it without them wearing it. Like, you're just like,
okay.
Okay. You're one of them. And
man, my professor. No wonder why I got an F. I knew it.
I knew it. Screaming. No, but really, and then being in the theater program, there was a lot of minorities, a lot of LGBTQ people. And so a lot of us were just kind of like empathetic to each other. I remember there was a Black student rally that we had.
Interesting.
And then even the next day, a Love Trump's Hate rally. So, like, literally everybody was trying to come together on some semblance of the word.
Now, also, as you talk about that, like organizing, as we watched even after the fact, in so many of what we're looking at right now, witnessing a lot of students organize against what's happening in Gaza.
Yeah.
And a lot of the student protests being, students are losing their scholarship. And when I say their scholarship, they're losing access to university. They're losing funding. They're getting kicked out of school, period, for protesting.
Wow.
Protesting them.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that were organized. You all show up and nothing, no static. And also we know that for people that don't know, Michigan State University is located in East Lansing. Yep. East Lansing's police department, in the history of the relationship between Black people and East Lansing's police department, like many police departments across America, isn't the most sanctimonious. Yeah. So a Love Trump's Hate rally.
Yeah.
No static, everything cool.
So that's the interesting part about it. It kind of plays into what I was saying before. It being a PWI. I feel like we are trying really hard to get a certain just to get attention. For sure, as just like the Black student union and stuff like that. So, and it was literally next day. So you could tell like the Love Trump's Hate protest was the day before the Black student union protest. And it was like every Black student showed up, every Hispanic student showed up for that. And then the LGBTQ plus community and everybody for that. But when we had our Black student protest the next day, it wasn't
whole different energy.
Yeah, it was like pulling teeth to get people to come out. And that was kind of like, how could you not? So we just came out and supported you yesterday. Like, where's our support? And so it was like, okay, what does this mean? Like, okay, it's still a PWI. Like,
and even the layers and the cultural dynamics that oftentimes that it's not a monolith. Hence, the Black Studies department is needed, and not necessarily the Cultural Studies department. Yeah. For those that watch, go back to the interview I had with Mark Crane talking about University of Chicago and organizing that he was doing there years ago. That sometimes cultural studies, when included in Black studies, once again, the Black voice can fall on deaf ears. Let's just use that.
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
Okay, so from college, 17.
Yeah.
Where's the scope after that? In artistry, you have an experience where it's like, okay, definitely finding out a lot more of, to me, America.
Essentially, I keep telling myself, I told myself that I was like, okay, well, the truth is I would still have to be fighting for attention anyway. Right. Even if it wasn't here, I did want to go to Howard so bad, where there are so many talented Black actresses and actors, and the support there is just very different. Because I think I was one of like 8 Black students in the department at the time. So, and whenever we had a diversity play, it was like,
I know.
Okay, you know where we're gonna get
in here. Shelby in here.
Like, okay, we got 8 of you, so yeah, we're probably gonna know, like, literally. And we would look at each other like,
yep.
Okay, well, they're doing Grease.
Yep.
But we're probably not gonna get cast in it.
There you go.
Hopefully it's different now. I really hope so. But it was still like in the back of my head, it was like, well, it's not that America hasn't been writing and producing more white plays and TV shows and movies since the inception than Black people. So it's not so ridiculous, but I think the hope was that it's a learning environment, so everyone would get a fair chance. But there was some great, like, I still feel like there were some really awesome shows that I did. And there was an awesome student ran program where we, like, picked our own plays or wrote our own plays. People were like, especially the grad students, they had to write their thesis on a play, and they would be the ones that would be directing and starring in it. Like it was some cool elements to it for sure. But after that, actually while I was up there, I did DJing for the student radio. I was in an art collective. When I started doing makeup for art and stuff like that, for photo shoots and editorial stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's where that started. So when I left, I started doing regular makeup. But that itch for that artistry was still like,
there.
Okay, I gotta do, like, most people don't want to get a big old rainbow on their face. And then they're hiring you to do makeup for a party or something like that.
Probably not.
So that's when I think I just started doing kind of like that YouTube inception, like 2016, where YouTube and Instagram and stuff was starting to take off as far as doing makeup and stuff like that on camera. So I was doing that. I was kind of following that trend, doing my makeup and stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. And then 3 years ago, it was actually because my father passed away.
Rest in peace.
Thank you. And I was like, okay, I got to do something. Like, I can't let grief take over and stifle me. So I got to do something creative. And that was my first thought was like, I do something art wise. Like, my dad drew. He loved drawing and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I got to do something artistic, and I got to do something with Detroit because this is our city. And it was back on the rise, too. So it was like, okay, they're giving us a shot to put more light on Detroit. Bet. Like, let's do something. Let's do something for Detroit.
I like it. I like it. So the artistry there and what connects, and I love the story and how you keep pouring in with this energy. So as we get closer to a close here, what can people expect to see at the show?
So like we were saying, more like a digital art situation where a lot of this artwork is going to be like editorial scale type of looks and makeup and body paint and stuff like that. It's really professionally done, really clean stuff that you would want to hang up, I think, in your house, which is dope. But it's very Black and or Detroit centered. So the art that you're going to see has elements, if not, come straight from Detroit artworks that are going around in the city from staple places. And then very much speaking on the Black experience in Detroit. So I feel like that's really dope, especially like artsy, fartsy Black kids. Like getting their chance. Yeah. Okay.
I love it. So with that, how do people connect? How do they find out more? How do they get there?
Yeah, so you can follow us at Detroit Does It Better. Better is spelled BETTR. Or you can follow me at Shelby Love, which is SHELBY LOV3. That's on Instagram, TikTok, and I think Facebook. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now, classic Detroit is different questions.
Okay.
Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
2005 Kia Sorento.
Okay, when you get it?
I got it. I was 19. Yeah.
Okay, what year you get it though?
Oh my gosh. Oh, now I gotta think math. 2015.
Okay, so it had 10 on it. Where was the first place you went when you got it?
Oh man, I don't even know. I don't know where I went. I feel like I drove down the street somewhere. Maybe picked somebody up. Maybe I went to work.
Okay. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah.
All right. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks. Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Dang, I want to play Celebration. I don't know why that's the first thing that came to mind.
Okay.
And then maybe like.
So Kanye Celebration?
No, Celebrate. I'm old school. I'm sorry.
You mean Cool in the Gang?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Gang Celebration.
Okay.
And I don't know. I can't think of another. When you said fireworks, I thought about Katy Perry. So now I can't get it out of my head. But I would not play that. I would not play
you would
that.
Not? Okay.
I would not play that. I feel like they would expect something better.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. What would you play?
See, this is your question.
But like, I can't think. You just stopped up my whole brain with saying the word fireworks.
Okay. So.
Yeah, Cool in the Gang Celebration, and maybe like the Tamia Hustle or something.
There we go.
Hey, we can
All
dance
right.
it out.
Get people dancing.
Yeah.
Last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Oh. After one Detroiter?
Yep.
Dang. I keep thinking about Diana Ross. Because my first thought was Rosa Parks, but she wasn't born in Detroit, but she did live here, which is cool. She already has her street, so I'm like, okay, well, it can't be her.
Okay.
Literally. So I'm like, maybe Diana Ross.
There we go.
The Queen.
Okay, why?
She's one of the first people that people name when we think about music in Detroit. She went to Cass, like she grew up here. She's big, influential, for sure. And I think she's one of those people from that legendary time. One of the first people that I think of.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This
Congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
All right. Peace.
Bye.